know, look at this box of stuff. Somebody brought me home today. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this stuff? This is what am I supposed to do? I think one of those army people out there in the desert. It's like, have you ever been on a submarine? It's like, in the desert, they're like, man, it's hot. It's like, man, you mean to tell me they got all kind of stuff they can make out there in the desert because people do supply drops? It's like, you know how hard it is to get a supply drop to a submarine in the middle of an ocean? It's like, man, it's like, I hope the boat makes it here today because they sank the last one that came over. What are we going to eat? He says, well, that's why we got so much rice on board, What do you got all that rice on board for? He says, I don't know, man. Anybody seen it, that Bugs Bunny thing? It's like, what's up, Doc? He's like, man, well, that boat could make it from the dock to the middle of the ocean to resupply the submarine, boys. We might have something good to eat. So we're going to have to teach them Army boys a thing or two. He's like, why, sir? I'm like, well, I've been out there in the middle of the desert. And even though they get the supply drops, there's like MREs. It's like, what's that? One thing they got was military resource education. What's military resource education, sir? That says MREs, man, They drop it down, it's already ready to go. It's like some of those people, they don't even know how to cook, man. They get home, it's like, man, they sent me this box of stuff and I don't know what to do with it. I'm like, well, I went to class and I was in like first class and I was like, what do you mean? Well, got to help some of those people, with their dates, It's like, man, you're going to make a home-cooked meal, man, and do a surprise date. Did you ever watch that 80s show? It's like the guy, he reserves the entire museum. And he says, I'm going to make her a homemade dinner, man. It's like, I'm going to cater this thing. I'm like, we get into that museum, man. It's like a super date, What are we going to do, though? Yeah, it was MREs, like that military, reserve education. It's like, what's the military reserve education? Well, while they were off of the reserve where there's actually trees and stuff and homes and houses and stoves, they were like military reserve education, man. They're out there in the desert. It's like, man, what do I cook with? It's just, I don't know, man. The last guy, he was so hungry, he hit that other guy over the head with a pot and pan. It's like, oh my God, what's he doing? I said, I'll tell you what, hold on. More than Meals on Wheels. Well, they can't read the instructions. I says, well, if it's in a little more supplies, so like, what's the supplies for? I says, well, I got supplies. And they go, what do I do with that? I says, well, I got a potato, I got a potato, another side of cream, I got some cheese and tomato, ground pork and chicken. I says, what do I do with all this stuff? I was like, well, some of these people, they come home and it's like, man, it's like they've crashed in the desert. It's like, and their brains are like mashed potatoes, man. It's like, what are we going to do with that? I says, well, you mean AAA USA? It's like, man, I'll tell you what we need. We need assistance. Assistance. He says, yeah, man, some of those military vets, they need like a husband, and the other military vet, they need like a wife, It's just, so I got gentlemen out there looking for a wife, and I got ladies out there looking for a husband. So it's like, man, what do we do? It's just, well, if I could just get them every plate. But every plate, didn't you see Jesus' Last Supper? It's like, man, he was trying to get people to eat like a family. Can you imagine being out there in the desert in the heat? It's like, oh, these people acting crazy. It's like, what do I do? He says, well, the only thing they've been eating is bread and water for the last, God knows how many days. So what am I going to do when they actually get real food? They don't know how to cook it. Well, we got to have wedding cooking adventures. Didn't you see that chef, man? The Chef Ramsay's like, we got Hell's Kitchen, and then we got Destination Unknown, It's like, you're out there in the middle of the desert. I got nothing to eat but these MREs, man. When I get home, it's like Destination Unknown. I'd never seen anything like that before, sir. It's like, well, somebody call the captain and tell him to beam an educator down here. Pff, we need them everywhere. He said, what are we going to do with that? He says, I don't know, man. If you just give us a few, you know, we'll know what to do. He says, give us a few what? A few adventures. He's like, man, you're going to multiply adventures? I says, well, it depends, you know. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these adventures yet, but, you know, if I get AAA out there like an Angel and Alien Squad, then maybe I can get a United States, you know, Angel Squad out there. It's like, man, you mean it's more than the United States a miracle? Yeah, so well, United States, it's a miracle every day, but if you get a United States Angels, man, whew, can you imagine what we could do with that AAA? It's like Angels and Aliens. Man, it's like, man, you mean that Air Force guy who was flying that jet looks over and says, man, what was that? Unidentified flying object. What do you mean unidentified flying object? Well, you know, we're in the kitchen, you're cooking, you know, and, you know, the other person is like trying to get in there and cook stuff. They don't know what they're doing. You're like, man, I'll throw this potato at their head, you know? Then they start having food fights. I'm like, man, what are we going to do now? I says, man, I really needed that. You know, the starving people over there in the desert, they're going to eat that, you know? It's like, what do you mean? He says, no, don't eat that, man. I threw it and it ended up being a mashed potato. Psh, nobody wants that. I says, sure they do, man. I says, hold on. I'll be right back.